environment. Now this is the advanced. Welcome to Microsoft Exchange Server 2013. I'm Jason Helmick, and this course is the Advanced Design and Planning course. It'll help you prep for 7342, and also, most importantly, it'll help you design and plan and get into more details of your Exchange Server on-premises environment. Now this is the advanced video, so you probably want to check out the series here on CBT Nuggets on Microsoft Exchange Server 2013 7341 before you start this one, definitely. But this is going to be, this is where we get to dive in and details and all kinds of fun stuff. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. Now, since this is a design and planning course, you can imagine there's going to be lots of pictures. I'm going to draw lots and lots of pictures on the screen, but we're also going to spend time with the product itself, doing a lot of the things that we're talking about. This way you'll get a chance to follow along and do it too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about the virtual environment that I'm using so that if you want to copy it, you can. Now, the first thing that we're going to kind of, step off into is the Exchange management tools. We want to make sure that you have all of the tool sets, that you have everything you need and ready to go. And like I said, if you've looked at the earlier Exchange 2013 course, you're probably already comfortable with the Exchange management shell and the graphical, so that'll be just a quick review. Then we're going to dive deep right from the very beginning with getting started with high availability. High availability, the importance of it, how it affects you with Exchange, and from every aspect of it, from your networking, your firewalls, the internet connections. And then we're going to dive into how to start to set up high availability and plan for it and design it for both single site and multi-site for your CAS boxes. And we'll focus in on load balancing and those kind of capabilities. And then we'll look at the mailbox role in setting up DAGs. And there's a ton of information in there about not just single site but also multi-site DAGs and how to get things configured. Now, planning for virtualization. There's several videos here on virtualization because a lot of you, I know you want to run it, you want to run Exchange virtualized, right? I know I do. I certainly want to run it virtualized. Why have all of this hardware laying around when I can, put it up on one of my virtualization servers? And you don't have to be using Hyper-V, although I use that quite a bit. You can be using VMware. You can use the platform of your choice, but there are special rules that we want to follow and guidelines that we need to make sure that we're doing. Now, also, one of the things that we need to dive into is seriously on planning and design is transport security. These are the transport rules, and if you're familiar with transport rules, we want to go a few steps further. We want to not only show you the basics, but I want to show you some of the easier ways and more detailed ways you can set these transport rules up. And we're going to stop off and take a look at another aspect of security is Active Directory Rights Management Server is the ADRMS integration that we can have. Now, we still have a lot more to do than just this. We also want to take a look at retention, and we want to start to plan for retention. This is how long do you want email to stay? When should email go away? Is this for a compliancy reason? Is this for a cleanup reason? Is it something that you want to send off to an archive? So we want to talk about the archiving capabilities that you have. So we want to look at those retention settings. Now, we need to dive back into security again, and this is a great time to do it, is to start to look at, and this is a very hard security model. If you worked with this in Exchange 2010, boy, this could be tough. RBAC, role-based access control. However, in Exchange 2013, this has been greatly simplified and improved in the sense that it's much easier to work with. So we need to look at how Exchange does its security and what this concept of security, when you're working with it, of split permissions. And how's this split permission thing? How does this work with Active Directory? Because, as an Exchange administrator, you have the power to make a lot of changes in Active Directory, and that might not be what your business or company wants. In other words, there might need to be a very clean separation between who can modify Active Directory and who can modify Exchange. Now, one of the interesting things is that even though I'm an Exchange admin and I work with Exchange all the time, I think I'm like the god of Exchange in my environment. Yeah, well, you're being watched all the time, so you can't get away with anything. So we've got some rogue administrative prevention measures in auditing. Auditing is where everything you do gets audited. Now, a lot of admins look at this as, oh no, this is bad, this is not good, this is I don't want to be audited. But really you do. Think about this. Think of the troubleshooting capabilities, because literally everything you do gets written down. And so what happens is let's say another admin makes some changes and something goes wrong. Well, now you can see exactly what those changes were. Auditing is great. We can even audit individual user mailboxes, and so we want to take a good look at that. Now, a combination of our permissions and our capabilities is going to allow us then to dive into e-discovery and hold, the ability to give somebody the capabilities to search for and find emails based upon a variety of different criteria. We're also going to stop by and take a look at an overview of unified messaging. If you have a phone system, yeah, did I just say that? If you have a phone system, no. If you want to integrate your phone system into Exchange so that you could leave, your voicemails in your mailbox and you can retrieve stuff from your mailbox through your phone system, you have an integration point called unified messaging. Then on to one of my favorite topics. Oh, this is one of my favorite topics. There are so many favorite topics in this course. I end up saying that a lot. But you might be in the situation where you'd like to migrate to Exchange 2013. The term that we use now is upgrading, but if you're on Exchange 2010 or 2007 and you need to migrate on premises to Exchange 2013, I'm going to show you everything you need and all the information that you need and the exact steps to get migrated to Exchange 2013. Don't be afraid of the migration. You'll be able to do it. And also, again, one of my favorite things, I'm a huge fan of Exchange Online. Now, before you poo-poo the cloud, take a look at that video and give me a chance to show you some of the options that you have to work with Exchange Online in that overview of Exchange Online, and also talking that a little bit about Office 365 as the whole product kind of thing. Now, before we dive in and get started with the very first video set, now I want to show you what the virtual machine layout is that I'm using, so that if you'd like to construct it yourself so that you can follow along and work with it, it'd be a lot more fun that way. So let me show you what the VM environment looks like. I want to describe to you the virtualized environment that I've set up here, and also give you another option as well that you can set up so that you can work through this with me if you'd like. That'd be a lot of fun that way. And that also has a tendency to raise questions, and what you'll find out is that a lot of times I've probably covered that question. It just didn't quite make sense until you tried it. So I really encourage you to try with your own virtualized environment. Now, the primary OS, I can't even spit it out. The primary software, there we go, that I'm going to be working with is Server 2012 R2. That's going to be on all of the OSs. Although I do want to tell you, and I'm going to show you a drawing here in a second, get used to the fact that I'm doing lots of drawings. I'm going to also show you that if you want, a really great addition would be Windows 8.1 as a client with Outlook on it. Yeah, Outlook. Outlook from Office 2013 would be a great choice, and you can get all of this as evaluation software and download it from Microsoft. So it's not like you have to spend money on this. You can just do all this pretty much for free. I'm also going to be working with Exchange 2013 SP1. Now, SP1 came out at the time that I started shooting this, so I wanted to work with, at that point, the latest and greatest one. If you're on in your office on a slightly earlier version, like CU1 or CU2, SP1 has a couple of changes in it that you'll see as I go through. Now, what my environment looks like. This is kind of a larger virtualized environment, and the reason that I had to create a larger environment was for the high availability discussions that you and I are going to have. So I have this. I have a domain controller. And so I just set up Active Directory, installed Active Directory, and literally I created like a handful of users. So, go out and, set up a DC and create some users. You can name this whatever you want, users, maybe like 5 of them. And you can name this whatever you want. I named mine company. The domain is company.pri. And so you can choose whatever domain name you would like and just create some users like Bob, Sally, Frank, whatever you want to create. And just go ahead and keep that domain controller environment very simple. From that, I then did, let's see here. You're going to love this. I'm going to see if I can draw this out here. I did 4 Exchange servers. So, and you'll notice when I go through the series, you're saying, oh my God, 4 of them? Yeah, 4 of them. I did MBX1, MBX2. Those are the mailbox roles. And then I did CAS1 and CAS2. And if you're not sure how to install Exchange, make sure you check that earlier Exchange server video series on the 70-341. Now, I installed these as separate roles so that we could do all the high availability stuff. I also have a client machine out there that's running that Windows 8.1 and Outlook that you'll see occasionally. Now, do you have to do this environment? Oh, and by the way, this is a vanilla Exchange install. So literally, I just installed Exchange for those roles, did nothing else. So every time you see me start, I'm starting right from scratch. So it's a real easy environment to set up, but it does take a couple of hours, as you can tell by doing all the Exchange installs. So these are just a clean vanilla install, no configuration changes. Now there's an alternative environment that you could set up that would be probably quicker and easier. You won't be able to do all of the high availability stuff though. But it's a simplified environment if you don't have the hardware resources for this. And you can do this on your laptop even if you wanted to. As a matter of fact, I have the large environment on my laptop, but so here's a domain controller, and you can just have a mailbox role and a single CAS role. For about 80% of everything I do, you could do with a single mailbox role and a single CAS role. You could even put these 2 roles on the same VM if you wanted to. You don't even have to separate them. So that would be a total of 2 VMs if you wanted to keep the environment simple enough. And you can do everything except for when we get to database availability groups and the load balancing with the CAS. Or you can do the more complicated environment. How much memory, though, are you going to need for all of this? Well, that's the hard part. And so you're going to have to look at your physical resources to see if you have enough to get this to run. Now, besides the actual published minimums for Exchange, here's what I did. Is I did this domain controller here. I gave him 1024 megabytes, so a gig of RAM. Yeah. And so what I did for my mailbox roles, now, I've had success with VMs if you do these at 2 gigs each. And you can even get down to 1 gig for the CAS boxes. Now, this obviously is not a production environment. This is a very simple lab environment to do the things that we're doing in this video series. So don't use those memory requirements in production. So as you can see, I'm looking at what, 4, 5, 6, about 7 gigs. So if you have a machine that has 8 gigs in it, it's going to get pretty close with that kind of environment. If you've got 16 gigs, boy, you can even spread the memory out a little bit more on these. And the more memory you can give them, the faster they'll be. Now, if you chose this environment, well, then you can get away with giving, give the domain controller a gig and give this box. Give that box, as much as you can give it. Like, if you can, see if you can give it 4 gig. It'll run pretty smooth for you for all of the labs. Whether you stop now and build the VMs, or if you start watching the videos and you build them as we're going, either way, it's best if you play along, and that way it'll make a lot more sense. And I don't know about you, but I'm so excited. I just want to get started on this and start with the tools and start working with high availability and all the exciting things that we're going to do in this course on Microsoft Exchange Server 2013. So you know what? Let's go.